Good morning, guys. Welcome to another edition of the Proud American Show. My name is Roberto Batiste. Today, we have a very special show for you because we'll be talking about, American citizenship. What is it? How do you acquire it? And all these different things. But we're not talking about American citizenship just to bore you. We're talking about it in the sense of how do you move to the next stage once you become an American citizen, i.e., how do you earn a living and all these different things. Not that this is the only requirement in America on how to earn a living. You have to be a U.S. citizen, far from it. But we have too many folks that are living here as American citizens that do not own an ID card, that don't have a job, and that are frankly tired of looking for a job. They actually gave up on the idea of looking for a job. So we are hoping this episode would actually be able to help you understand not only the American citizenship process, how to get an ID, and all these different things, and perhaps lead to a broader conversation, how to make you get an ID way cheaper or actually free, if not even possible, but we'll try, we'll attempt to. Again, this is Roberto Baptiste. You are watching the Proud American Show. Well, we want to talk to you today about American citizenship. There are two ways of acquiring American citizenship, naturally or by birth. So, meaning you're born, you're a baby. What are the two ways that you can become a U.S. citizen? The very first one is jus soli, which is right of the land or right by land, whatever you want to define it as. The founding fathers, in all their wisdom, decided, well, if someone is born in the continental United States, then that person, by definition, is an American citizen. Most countries around the world, to not say all, have adhered to that doctrine as well. So that's from Latin, that's where it all came from. So that's why they call it the law of the land. If you're born in a land where normally you're a U.S. citizen, there are some countries around the world where that is an exception. Now, the second tier to becoming a U.S. citizen from a natural standpoint or from a birth standpoint is just sanguinis, right, by blood, meaning through the blood of your parents, you are a U.S. citizen. So if you're born of one U.S. citizen, whether you're born abroad, wherever in the world you're born, well, that person can grant you your U.S. citizenship because they were a U.S. citizen before you were born anyway. So quick recap, just solely, you're born in the United States of America, whether it's Puerto Rico, that's still part of the United States, Virgin Island, that's still part of the United States, Hawaii, that is still part of the United States. Once you're born in those places, then you're an American citizen. That's just solely right of the land. Now, if one of your parents is a U.S. citizen, well, you're also a U.S. citizen, i.e. you could be living in Canada, like Ted Cruz's mother at the time, or father, whichever it was. Well, Ted Cruz, senator from Texas, acquired citizenship through that parent of his that actually lived abroad, which kind of entitled him to run for the higher office of the United States, but we're not gonna get into a political debate over that. But you understand my point. Anyway, that's just sanguine. Just sanguine is what a lot of people want to keep in the United States because they feel people come here and have what they call anchor baby, which is a silly term in my book. But anyway, long story short, those are the two primary ways of acquiring citizenship in the United States. The majority of people that are American citizens, that's how they are becoming, or that's how they've gotten that citizenship. Now, that doesn't mean that's the only way. You also have folks that come here from abroad, and there's a naturalization process. Naturalization process, obviously, is a little lengthy. You have to earn that right to be an American citizen because you are here for a period of time as a lawful permanent resident, and after that certain period of time, you get to petition the USCIS office, which is the U.S. Immigration Service here, really. Once you petition them to acquire your citizenship, you go through the vetting process. You get to take an exam. Yes, history, U.S. government exam. Learn a few things about the United States of America and its history. Then from there, you do become a U.S. citizen once you pass all the stages. So that grants you full right as any other U.S. citizens that were born that way or what have you, because the Constitution doesn't recognize tiers of citizenship. That's very important, especially in this day and age. So let's recap again. Just solely, you're born in America, you're a U.S. citizen. Just sanguinis, you're born of a U.S. parent. you become a U.S. citizen. Naturalization, you're a lawful permanent resident, as they call it here. After a certain period of time, you get to petition USCIS to naturalize and become a U.S. citizen as well. So those are the main categories before going into the outlying cases of, okay, well, you can become a citizen, this, and that. We're not lawyers. We're not going to go into the finer details of it, but I wanted to establish that for you. Why is that important? Poverty breeds a lot of, I don't want to say ignorance, a lot of missed opportunities. Missed opportunities because you're out there, sometimes you don't even know. You don't even know that you're a U.S. citizen. I want you to picture this for a second. You're living in some border town, one of the smaller border towns. Your parents came here illegally. They gave birth to you. So as a result, you don't even know your citizenship because you grow up, you go to school, everything is free. So you don't even know you're a U.S. citizen, but you were born here. Yet when you get stopped because you probably don't have an ID, you might be deported, yet you have a record of birth in a hospital somewhere in one of those border towns. Man, that's interesting. You never know who you're going to bump into on this show. I have a friend of mine that just walked in here. I haven't seen this brother in a while, but I bump into him outside. Fee!
Oh man, how you doing?
What's going on, bud?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Hey, I told you guys, this is authentic, all right? He walks in, we're going to bring him on camera. We ain't stopping or trying to edit this, what have you. Fee, you want to say hi to the people, man?
Hello. How are you doing? Nice to see everyone.
You see how well dressed he is, man? We're going to get into what he's doing. We're going to finish that segment about immigration, and we're going to talk to my brother here. He's going to stay here and give us his thoughts as well.
Okay.
So what we were talking about really, Fee, was how to become a U.S. citizen. We described, just solely you were born here, you become a U.S. citizen through your parents, but we got to the point where we're talking about kids that were born here,
right,
where the parents might be illegal and they live in some border towns, but
right,
the parents never get them the documents to show their citizenship.
Right.
So now that kid is caught in limbo.
Right.
He knows
but
he was born here. They're a U.S. citizen.
Yes.
So now, what's the process of getting to that citizenship paperwork to prove it? That's kind of where we were heading. So have you have any thoughts on that?
Where do you go? Well, I'm thinking as long as you're born in the United States, there's a birth certificate.
Absolutely.
That birth certificate is your fingerprint to prove that you are a United States.
So let's stop right there. See, that's the average knowledge that a lot of folks don't know. So the very first thing you might want to do, if you're one of those kids perhaps, is trace your steps back. Your parents might have told you what hospital you were born in.
Yes.
So let's say you were born in Orlando.
Yep.
You just go to Arnold Palmer Hospital, for example. They have an archive record department.
Records.
So your name, the date of birth that you have, you give your parents' name, they should be able to dig something up.
Absolutely.
Not too far from Arnold Palmer, they have the Orange County office for statistics, if you want to call it that. Vital statistics. So that's where you normally would go to get the formal birth certificate registered, and you get the copy of it and what have you. It's registered with the state of Florida in Tallahassee. So now you can pull that birth certificate. That birth certificate,
you can get an ID.
You golden.
You can get your, you really don't need to get citizen paperwork, but you can get that documentation if that's necessary. But with your birth certificate, that is your proof.
That I was born in this country, that I'm a U.S. citizen.
You don't need, now someone who's from the outside who wasn't born here need to go get citizen paperwork.
That's kind of what we discussed.
It
is that paperwork. It's naturally granted. So again, we don't want those kids to be caught in limbo because of the situation that their parents might be in. If you're a U.S. citizen, you're a U.S. citizen. Unless and until they change the Constitution of the United States, that says if you're born here, you're no longer a U.S. citizen, we will go by that definition, and we'll make sure that you actually get the proper help that you need. So just go out there and inform others as well, because information is vital in this day and age.
Absolutely.
So now, why is it important to find out that citizenship paperwork and making sure you have it? Because a lot of folks, like I began this show telling you, don't have the ability to get an ID form. As you can see behind me in the big board, Fee, we put job, J-O-B.
That's big.
I mean, big. I cannot write that big enough because whether you're a man or a woman, I think there's something special about earning for yourself, going out there and making sure on a daily basis you go out, you put something in your pocket. Self-sufficient. Yes. You cannot make things happen if you're not self-sufficient.
No, not at all.
And how do you get to that point where, okay, now I know I'm a U.S. citizen, now I have a birth certificate, I need to get an ID form, right?
You have to have some sort of ID, yeah.
And everywhere you go in the United States of America, even a library, by the way, this is the plug for the library. Shout out to the library system in Orange County. It's too empty, folks, by the way. We need to bring more kids into the library system, into the libraries locally here. We're on the one on Iwasi and Colonial. Visit them. Make sure you start reading more. You get more information. It's a big, big, big opportunity that we don't get to use as a resource. Okay?
And you're paying for it.
You're paying for it as a
taxpayer. Every time you buy something in this county,
Preach,
you're
tell
paying
them.
for it.
You're paying for it. So all these books, this is all you.
Yes.
So why not use that, okay? So now here's the thing. Even to get a library card, the library card is free. The initial library card is free.
Yes.
If you lose it, you pay $3. But even to get that library card, you need a picture ID.
Absolutely.
So how do you get that first picture ID? You have your birth
Your
certificate.
birth certificate.
It's not a picture ID. It's just a form that says where you were born, who were your parents, and all these other things, right?
Contact Social Security.
Okay, so that's the first thing. Let's stop right there because we want to make sure everybody understands. So now you need a social security number.
Which you already have.
Okay, you already
Your
have
birth
it, but
certificate.
birth certificate, so you got to go to the social security office to either do two things. One, to get your card reproduced or to get it produced again. If it was never registered, to get registered and then get that number, or to get some kind of paperwork that states you were never issued a social security number and it's in the work. Let's say you have to get that ID right away. If they give you that letter, now you can take that to
Right.
DMV.
Yes.
You go to your DMV office to get you your first ID. I'm assuming you're not driving, none of that. We're not even gonna touch that. So you gotta have a picture ID from the state of Florida to show that you reside here.
Yes.
And you are you.
Right.
So when you present yourself, you're gonna have those documents. But here's the catch though, Fee. That ID costs $25.
Okay.
In your mind, in your opinion, is that fair
For the original?
for the original ID?
Right.
When you know how much of a must it is to have an ID form. Why is it that the Social Security card is free,
Right.
yet the state of Florida is charging you $25 to produce an ID to say that I'm a resident of this state? That's kind of like the thinking.
I
of
get
the
what
ID.
you're saying. Okay. Maybe it should be free. I agree.
You know, so that's kind of what I'm looking at because again, if it's a requirement for people to have it,
Right.
why not make the initial one free? Just like the library system, you said we're paying for it
The
and everything
initial,
else
right.
initially, but if you lose it, it's because you are irresponsible, so you get to pay $3.
And the driver license is a government entity, so we're paying for that.
We're
as
paying
well.
for that as well through our taxes.
You're right,
so
it should be free.
Why not get that for free?
The
And
initial-
then if you lose it, the initial one, if you lose it, then we start charging you for it.
I agree.
So I'm all for, you know,
Yeah,
like.
that's a good point.
Okay.
That's a good point.
So,
So I'm not even sure the initial ID. you
the
see,
initial
is
ID,
it free?
it's not free. It's $25 to get a piece of ID in the state of Florida.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Okay.
So if I'm able to prove to you that I'm here legally, whatever they want to call it, I don't care about the terminology really. I'm a U.S. citizen. You asked me for all those paperwork requirements. I went through hoops to get them. Now I show up, you tell me, well, you got to have $25, and I don't have it. So now I have to wait additionally. Remember, I'm trying to get to that JOB.
Right.
To start earning something.
Yes.
I'm trying to do the right thing. Why can't I get that ID form for free? And that's a question we're going to ask to a lot of government officials because part of this show, we visit the government officials.
Oh, really?
But that's one of the main things that I want to bring up.
Good question.
Why do I have to pay $25 for the initial ID? I understand thereafter,
Right,
if I
'cause you
lose
lost
it,
it.
I lost it, something happened, yeah. But $25 to get an original ID that you tell me I must have, that's a requirement? Come on.
Well, how about this?
Mm-hmm.
When they're attending school, you're given an ID,
So this is why we have our brothers here.
and that's free.
Normally, here's what happened around the world, and you're absolutely correct. As you get to high school level,
Yes.
you are supposed to get a national ID card. Because we don't have a national ID card in this country, it's a federal system, the state ID represent that ID for you.
Right.
Well, when you get to high school in those foreign countries, you go to that department, you print your fingers, do whatever you have to do.
Right.
Most countries, I don't want to say all, most countries around the world give you that first ID for free.
Right.
Now, when you're renewing it, you get to pay for it.
Okay.
You see what I mean? So
I get it.
you hit it in the nail. So that's where it normally is supposed to function.
Right.
Why can't we do that here in America? The second step
good
is,
question.
you know, why can't we do it here? But the second step, if you were to charge somebody, why not have even an IOU? If you feel like you have to charge them,
Right.
why does it have to cost $25?
Don't know. I guess it's to offset the cost that it takes to run.
To make it or what have you, but imagine we're already financing that
You're
department
already
with our
financing
taxes.
through taxes, yes.
So-
That's a good question. I don't know why they charge the original. But what I'm thinking is, when you're in high school, and I may be wrong, but when you're in high school, they give you at 15, they give you the option to take the test
Driver's
or the
ed
driver
or-
ed in school. Do they charge you that 25 even if you get it through school?
From my understanding, through school, you still get charged for the ID, to get that ID.
So I'm 100% on board with you. There should be some understanding that your first ID, since it's a must,
It's free.
It should be free.
And we're not talking about a privilege here, because
not a
again,
privilege.
it's
You're paying for it.
You're paying for it. It's just, it's one of those things that you must have in order to do it. Remember, I'm not even talking about driver's
driver's
license, folks.
license, right?
So that's a privilege that can be revoked at any given moment. But as a state,
Your ID shouldn't
your
be a
ID
privilege.
shouldn't,
That's a-
exactly, it should
it's
be
an
okay.
absolute.
It's an absolute, because if you're gonna register, and that's another issue, register to vote as a U.S. citizen. Yeah, right now, it's in limbo. You don't have to have a picture ID, so long you produce the bills where you live, your address, and then proof of U.S. citizenship. You're good, you can register to vote. But how much easier would it be if folks already had that picture ID given to them for free, and they walk up to their local DMV, you know it's an enhanced driver's license ID system,
Right.
which means it was vetted that that person is a U.S. citizen. So now I can identify you when you're going to vote.
Right.
And here's the problem, here's the kicker, right? Republicans are always screaming, well, we need to have picture ID, blah, 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 and everything else. Democrats are saying, no, we don't need to have it. Well, if it's free, we don't have to have that debate
It's
anymore.
not a question.
It's not a question. So everybody in the state,
But, well,
It's
then
gonna have
that may explain the problem here.
yeah.
They want to ensure that it would be a problem for those who are economically disadvantaged.
Bingo, folks. That's it. Because that's why, again, I love to have shows where I might bump into you somewhere at a coffee shop. I might invite you in front of it, because folks like Fee, they get it. And that's the problem, America. That is the problem. The money is not the issue. Keeping some folks away from making key decisions, i.e. voting and what
Right.
have you, have been a long-standing issue. Because if you're
And
already
those are the
community
people
poor,
who are going to traditionally vote against.
a certain way.
Right.
But let me ask you this. Now, if a Republican was to sponsor a bill that states, you know what, the ID system in Florida is to be free, isn't that something that somebody might remember at the voting booth next time, that, you know what, this was sponsored by a Republican?
Absolutely.
I mean, you get to change people's minds, but
Absolutely.
sometimes a lot of those politicians are dead set on, well, I'm not gonna ever get votes from that community or those communities anyway.
They have wrote that off.
They wrote it off. You can't do that. I mean, if you want votes from people, you want people to stand behind you, how about you stand behind them? How about you help them out? Because I told you guys at the onset, this show is about the people and helping the people out, making sure we stand with them. I don't care if you're Republicans or Democrats. If your decisions help improve the life of others out there in this community, I'm with you. I stand with you.
Right.
But if it's not about that, I'm not about that life.
Yeah.
All right? So now, Fee, we get that ID. Somehow, magically, you get your $25 even though you don't have a JOB.
Right.
We're not going to ask how you got it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, maybe
So-
mom, maybe
maybe
dad,
mom, you know, it's a
friend.
loan or something.
Yeah.
So let's say you get that ID. So now you got to find a job. This is the bigger issue.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you the question before we go to the answer and kind of give resources to people. Do you remember your first job?
Do I remember my first job? Yes, I do. Yeah. You know what? I do remember my first job.
What was your first job?
My first job was at McDonald's.
Here it is, folks. How old were you,
McDonald's.
more or less?
I had to have been. No, McDonald's wasn't my first job. Winn-Dixie was my first
Memory
job.
lane right here, Winn-Dixie. Do we even have Winn-Dixie around? We have a couple,
There's
right?
still a couple around.
Couple around.
My first job was at Winn-Dixie. It was a store called, actually, it was Table Supply. And they turned into Winn-Dixie.
Winn-Dixie, okay.
And yeah, I was the guy to get the carts and bring it in. That's what I was doing. I had to have been 17, either 16, going on 17 in that time.
16 going 17. So that's pretty young, right?
Yes.
I mean, what made you go out to get a job at that age?
I was in high school. Other friends were doing it, and I said, "Hey, I can do what they're doing. I can match their job with my job." So that's what I did.
That's the key thing, though, because sometimes your environment dictates what you do.
It affects you.
It affects you because if you're around folks that are like, we'll get a job later, you know, when
Or,
we're
"I don't
30,
need a job."
I don't need a job,
Yeah.
then that's the vibe you're gonna catch and that's the vibe you're gonna bring.
Yes.
Otherwise, if you're around folks, whether you're 16, 17, man, I'm gonna go get the next shoes, because at that point you're a consumer. If
Oh,
you're
yeah.
16, 17,
You're a
you're working to buy things.
Yes,
you know?
that's what you want.
That's
You
what
want to be
you
able to
want.
get what you want to
Exactly. You go to high school, you want to get the shirt, so
Right.
you're gonna go earn it, because sometimes your parents are gonna tell you flat out, no, I'm not
Right.
gonna spend that
get. That
amount of
much
money
for that
for that
shirt.
shirt.
When you can get something else.
There you go. So whether it starts that way, but the value system of you work for it, you earn it,
It starts early.
it starts early.
Yes.
Like the other day, man, a quick story. I got my 4-year-old, my 2-year-old, and I got them the piggy banks, right?
Yes.
And I had a bunch of coins, and I threw them on the floor, and I said, all right, we have a race. Whoever can fill up their piggy banks the quickest. They started filling it up. And my wife was like looking at me like kind of crazy.
Right.
But would you believe 2 days later, my 2-year-old was going around the house trying to find pennies and quarters to
So you
put
can
in that
fill it.
piggy
There
bank.
you go.
See, now I'm trying to
Created a
plant the
habit.
seeds. Yeah, creating the habit of, all right, let's start saving early. Let's start
Right.
saving early. So sometimes the parents are not there to do that.
Right.
But if it's a friend that can influence those decisions, where the person get that first job, it's important, because as they're growing up, as a self-worth, they feel, okay, I need to get a job to make sure that I can provide for myself. And when you're ready to build that family,
Right.
I need to get a job to provide for my family.
And it goes on.
It
and
goes on and on. You
then
pass it down.
That child will be teaching the next child. You need teaching the next child stuff to piggy bank.
That's it. That's it. So 16, 17, I got mine, because again, I grew up in Haiti.
Right. 16,
16, 17, we're just chilling, right?
Okay.
we don't
There's no
want to
job.
work. No.
No job.
I mean, you have grown folks, unfortunately, that didn't have the opportunities to
Right.
work, and it's not like they were not looking.
Right.
It's just a tougher environment
not
for
available.
opportunities. It's not available. So when I came to America, I had to do the same thing. My first job, believe it or not, was Disney World.
Oh, that sounds good. That sounds
No, it wasn't good, man.
Disney? It sounds like fun. You get to.
The people
I've
were
always
having
wanted to work for
fun.
Disney.
Nah, man, I love Disney, by the way. Shout out to Disney with regards to the entertainment they provide. My kids love Disney. I'm not dissing Disney folks before I get all the hate mail. The thing is, working for Disney was tough, man.
Really?
Minimum wage.
Okay,
In the
well,
kitchen 24/7. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So, it wasn't the
kitchen sounds like
Listen, man. I mean,
That
we had to
sounds
do
like
what
work.
we had to do, because I came here, and the very first job was working as a dishwasher.
Yeah, that sounds like work.
You know what I
That
mean?
sounds like
So then from there, they're like, oh, you speak English? Well, maybe you can do this, busting the tables
Gotcha.
and what have you. But in the meantime, with the plan of I'm going to school, that's not going to be my reality forever.
Right.
So you got to get
But
that
it's a
first
start.
job. It's a
Right.
start.
Yes.
A lot of people don't want to do that. I remember Millennium Mall when it was opening.
Yes.
You know, so we had to go there and start flipping boxes around, lifting boxes, helping out, because it's extra income coming in.
Right.
Sometimes you have to do what you have to do, folks, to get your feet through the door.
It's a hustle.
It's a hustle. And I ended up working security at Millennium Mall, one of the finest stores there, and I loved it, Cartier.
Uh-huh.
That was one of my favorite stores to work as a security guard.
Right.
So you work your way up.
Yes.
That's kind of how I feel about the American journey when it
Absolutely.
comes to the JOB too.
Absolutely.
So that's important. Now, fast forward, Fee.
Yes.
Everybody's seeing you in that fine 3-piece there, you know, looking good.
Nah.
What do you do now, man? What are you into now?
I'm in real estate.
All right, folks, you heard it, right? From Winn-Dixie, flipping tables, to now he's into real estate,
Yes.
building his own business, his own brand. How's that? Is that
Absolutely.
really tough these days? Or?
It is what I would call the quote unquote dream. You get out there, and whether you eat or you don't eat, it's based on what you do.
Your performance.
It's what I do. I'm ultimately responsible if there's food on the table or not. And you know what? Getting a job is great because it teaches you that you have to work hard to receive a paycheck. And if you do it long enough, you end up learning that, you know what, I can work just this hard to receive my own paycheck without having to worry about a boss to tell me this is the time you get up, this is the time you go to bed, this is the time you come in, this is the time that you get to see your daughter in ballet, this is the time that it becomes your own dream that you're building.
So now you create your own schedule.
I-
You work until 5 in the morning if you have to, but you're your own boss. You're the captain of
Unfortunately,
that ship.
because of the person that I am, I end up working
Trust me, I know that. That's why I put that up
all the time. Because I got in here saying I can do whatever I want, and I can't catch myself always saying I can't make it because. But a lot of the things that I want to do, I can.
Yeah.
Vacations, there's no limit to my vacation anymore.
'Cause now
no
you-
one can tell me
You
when to
can't
get
go
back.
at this time and whatever. So the freedom doesn't start, folks, by you saying, I'm my own boss.
No.
You got to have the resources in order to be your own boss eventually.
Absolutely.
And it starts sometimes in the kitchen, whether you're a dishwasher or what have you. There's no shame in the game.
Yes.
You're making an honest living. I don't care what you do. Sweep the floors, whatever. Trust me, I've done it. I have no shame. I will go back and do it again if I have to. To rebuild, it don't matter to me because taking care of myself and my family, that's my ultimate responsibility.
It's about seasons.
That's it.
When you're 16, 17, or even if you're starting your season at 22, 23, it doesn't really matter. It's making sure you get from one season to the next.
Yeah.
When you in the summer, you're wearing your shorts and you're having the time of your life doing what you have to do with less clothes.
Yeah.
When it's winter, you have to
Bundle up, right?
bundle up and get ready and prepare for what that season is. So whatever season you're in, you got to be prepared for it. And one season leads you to the next season. I started at Winn-Dixie and I've gone from job to job to job to career to career to career.
And he's been through a lot of jobs, I'll tell you that.
Many.
Well-rounded.
And when it comes down to it, you get to a point where all those things that you did led you here. There's no such thing as I came from one area and went somewhere else without it being a transition. It's a transition of seasons.
Yeah.
And I came from one career to the next, and I found myself able to say, this is where I want to be because of all the experiences I had prior.
So now it led you
It
to
led
that
me
very
to
moment.
where I'm at.
That's real. That's real. I mean, listen, folks. Again, the key here, I'm gonna reiterate it. I'm gonna say it over and over. The key is to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
Don't let people define where you start. I mean, it's never too late to get started. You might be one of those guys that never held down a job before, that never went looking for a job. But today, if you get a chance to watch this from a friend, I hope it starts the journey for you, it starts the process for you, because there is nothing better in life than going out there and earning a living for yourself. And when we're talking about, I apologize, when we're talking about jobs, we're also talking about businesses. If you have the resources to build your own business, and when I say resources, it's not just the money.
Yes.
You got to have this.
Right.
First and foremost, you need to understand how to run the business, how to make sure that you succeed. Failure is part of the business as well.
Yes.
How do you pick yourself up from those failures and keep on building? But before we end this show, we got to give you another plug. This is jobfinderusa.com. They publish this. It's paper, actually. So if you come to your local library, you will get a copy of this with the latest jobs in them, where you can start that career path that we're talking about. Any library you go to, they have a selection of newspapers, whether it's Passport, which is a Caribbean magazine, or whether it's USA Today, whatever. They have a bunch of them, but at least you want to pick up this little 4-pager where you can start looking at jobs within your own community. For example, right now, I'm looking at careers in the medical field. They have CDL drivers. They have hotels that are advertising. You have full-time and part-time gigs that you can do. It's all here. So if you come to the library, or if you have your smartphone or in front of a computer, you can go to jobfinderusa.com and actually start looking for that job that you want in your own community. It's important to start somewhere.
And don't get yourself into one of those situations that I've heard a lot of people go through. I won't do that job. I'm not fit for that
For
job.
that job, yeah. I deserve better. I deserve more.
I don't think I was fit to work at Winn-Dixie pushing carts. But I guarantee you there's somebody who's working at Winn-Dixie who's very proud to work there because they worked their way up. Any job, I mean, I told you I worked at McDonald's. I kid you not, there's someone who's working at McDonald's who's making $100,000.
Yeah.
There's a job at McDonald's that pays very well and does that person quite well.
Absolutely.
So any job is worthy. It's just a matter of when you get in there, what do you do with it?
What's your perspective? How are you going to grow from it? There has to be growth. We wouldn't want you to be stagnant. If you start in that kitchen area as a dishwasher, you did not know any English, and within 6 months, your English is improving tenfold. Why not go and start busting table? From there, why not go and say to the boss, hey, I think I can do cashier now, a year or two from there.
But when you're in there, you work hard.
That's it.
You gotta do the
You
job.
got to have a work ethics.
You can't get in there and say, okay, I don't really like this job.
I'm
I'm gonna
gonna
go
shuffle.
up
Nah,
without
far
working
from it.
hard there. You have to prove who you are through your work ethic, and then you progress from there.
And that's the pride too, Fee. We got to mention this. You have to be proud of what you do. even though your work doesn't define you, but
Right.
you get to define that job while you're doing it.
Right.
We are often hear about officers when it comes to law enforcement. People always tell you, well, all cops are the same, blah, 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 and everything else. As an FTO, one thing that I always tell people when they used to come in was like, look, this job, we have a bunch of officers in it, but we only have one you.
Right.
Your personal experience, your life journey, and everything that you did, bring it so you change the job, so that when you do this job, people say, you know what, Officer Fee treated me different. Officer
Absolutely.
Baptiste treated me different. Eventually, we want that to define the badge, not the badge defining you.
Absolutely.
So it goes
Good
the
point.
same. If you are a bus driver, we cannot just go and say all Lynx bus drivers are horrible.
Right.
No, they have their own personal journey. We want to make sure that, you know what, this is how hard you work, this is how well you treat people, and we're good to go. Just like when you were there, if you're working in that back kitchen, like I did, I'm going to tell you right now, man, there wasn't a better dishwasher than I was. I was proud of it because I get to wash the dishes quick enough, and I'm competing with the other guys
Right.
that are there too.
And you're
So it
making
was
other
fun.
people look
Yeah.
like they're not
it's
matching up.
Not matching up. So
You can be the best
at whatever.
bus driver,
Yeah.
the best whatever, and what that does is it creates something in you that says, this is what I need to do so that I can be proud of who I am. And that transfers, like I told you, from season. It transfers from one season to the next. If you do great as a cart pusher here, how much greater are you going to be as a such and such there?
Simple.
And because you've already taught
Simple.
yourself, if you're at a position where you feel like it's not that great, but you did good at it.
It's not even arrogance. It's confidence, folks, that you build because you know the craft that you've developed. And I'm going to show you something real quick. Fee, who's the best realtor in Central Florida?
Oh,
Orlando?
shoot. Listen. You need a home? I'll get you in there. Your credit is bad? I'll get it right. You need to sell your home? I will sell it for the most. There's no one better. Call me. You'll find me on Eric Evans Facebook and
We're going to plug all that in. We're going to plug all that in. Folks, you understand what I
There's
just
no
said to
doubt.
you. So I can guarantee you at some point this man held down a sales job before he got into real estate.
Yes.
But all that led him to this very moment, like he said, that's a different season for him to venture into something else and be the best at it.
Absolutely.
Folks, I hope this episode helped you out because we always try to bring you things that are relevant and helpful. We can all scream and shout at everything that's going on, but I feel as we uplift the community, as we uplift each other, I think we're going to jump into a different season, and it's going to be a better season, to use my brother's metaphor here. It's been great. Roberto Baptiste here from the Proud American Show. I mean, I'm glad I bumped into my brother today. Man,
Good
we
to
got to
see
see
you
each other
again.
more often, man.
Absolutely.
All right.
It's good
All
to
right,
see.
folks. Y'all have a good week. Make it great, and make sure if you're buying a home, selling a home, want to fix your credit, hit up my boy here.
Ivesfequiere, Evans. On Facebook, it's Eric Evans. I don't mean to confuse you. I don't mean to confuse you. It's just the names that I use. Eric Evans on Facebook, hit me up, and on Instagram, Evans the Realtor, and we'll do business.
All right.
We'll
Make
do
something
business.
happen.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, folks. Thank you very much. You have
Thank
a
you for
blessed
your
week.
time.
Take care now.